Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of the Talent Intelligence Podcast. I'm your host, Nicky Patterson, Global Head of Growth here at Solutions Driven. And today I am pleased to announce Wendy Harris, the Head of EMEA at Gong, who are one of our favourite tools. We are hopefully one of their better customers, one of their first customers in EMEA, and thrilled to have Wendy on the show today. Wendy, hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me. Delighted to be here.
So as always, we have got a rough agenda, nothing too concrete, and I'm sure we'll take some tangents. But today, to give you guys an idea, that the plan really is, let's talk about Wendy. Let's talk about Wendy's approach to hiring talent intelligence, and building teams. And then let's look at Gong and the future of Gong. So Wendy, if you don't mind, let's jump right in.
Absolutely.
So I kind of like to start this by, throwing you under the bus a little bit and saying, how have you got to the role that you're at now? I mean, I look at life as, a bunch of opportunities, risk, taking chances, failures, and learning from that. And I'm sure there's been many of those along the way. So it'd be good to just get into the mindset of, how have you ended up where you are today?
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'd say one of my favorite phrases or mottos for life is dare greatly, which is, coined by Brené Brown. And I think I try and live my life daring greatly. And so I would also say I never had a master plan. So, I could have been a vet. I could have been a psychologist. I ended up in business in Trinity College in Dublin, business and French. And I happened upon my first job at Goldman Sachs. I literally just went to they were sort of doing a career fair and I went along because I was told there was free food and a free drink, and it sounds great. So I went to exactly perfect. What's better? So I saw a video of the trading floor and I was hooked, and I was like, wow, that looks incredible. And so I ended up there. 32 interviews later, I ended up.
No way.
Yeah, true story.
32 interviews.
Yeah, over 6 months. It was like knockout round after knockout round after knockout round. So 32 interviews. Started in October, the final year in college, and finished them in March. And so I got offered the job while I was still in college. And then obviously having done 32 interviews, I wasn't leaving. So I stayed there for 11 years. I was traumatized and thought of having to do it all again.
But you just presumed that was what every recruitment process looked like at that point.
I know, it was insane. So, but anyhow, I spent 11 years there. I absolutely loved it. I worked in London and Chicago. And then I just really wanted to move from finance to tech. And I often say my only master plan I ever had was I wanted to get out of finance and I wanted to move into tech. My two brothers worked in tech. I saw it was booming. Dublin was the hub for it. And I wanted to move home to Dublin. And it was very hard to get a job in technology, to be honest, because recruiters don't get my CV. They're like, you don't know anything about digital marketing. And I'm like, well, actually, I get it, but I have some transferable skills, I promise, having survived Goldman Sachs for 11 years. So I then spent some time at Facebook. I got my foot in the door there on a contract role, earning very little money just to get my foot in the door, and then scrapped my way back up. I ran UK Ireland sales for Adroll, a retargeting firm, then on to Dropbox, where I spent 2.5 years as running UK Ireland sales, then European sales, and then on to Car Gurus prior to Gong, where I ran European sales. But I will say my overriding thing is I am open to opportunity. So I've never had a master plan. I take the call. I don't take all of the calls, but I take calls occasionally and just say, okay, what's out there? And, Gong came along. I certainly wasn't looking. I was so happy at my last job. I loved it. But something about the company, I'd heard some buzz about it, and I wouldn't be here if I hadn't taken that call. And they were very aggressive in pursuing me, but I didn't fully get the magic of Gong because I'd never used the platform. So, so I think be open to opportunity and don't be too narrow in your focus, and dare greatly, as Brené Brown says.
Dare greatly, amazing. Don't get my CV as a recruiter. That's noted, and we'll come back to that. I'm sure Gong don't want you going anywhere at this point, right? Because you're doing what I hear an amazing job from the research I've been doing so far. But I guess people have come to crossroads, and doing well, we go after the passive market. So we not prefer, but we go after people that are doing a good job, and there's maybe one or two elements of that role missing. Because if it's only money that people move role for, the chances are they could move again quickly. Again, we offer a 12-month guarantee, for example, not about protecting that, but we want to work with a client and see someone come in and make an impact and go on and do good things, be promoted, build a team, and that gives us a big sense of pride. What are you most proud of in your career so far?
I'm most proud of the fact that I was a very high profile role at Goldman Sachs. I was a female trader. There was, only a couple of us. And I'm most proud of the fact that I succeeded for over a decade in, a very tough world.
Yeah.
But I also am proud of the fact that I was humble enough to swallow my pride and go back to being, a contractor at a tech firm earning very little money to just work my way back up. So I'm proud of the transition I made, because it was not easy, and I had a very bleak year and everyone shut the door in my face. And I'm proud of backing myself and knowing if I made it in there and I just stayed true to my values, that I would ultimately fight my way back up. And
look, I've got plenty of friends from Ireland, and scrappy is a word I always associate with them, resilient. They all have a backbone, they can, I think whether it's sport or whether it's life, whether it's sales, you're always going to get knocked down a peg or two, and it's how you react to that. How do you transfer that onto your team?
So I believe in life, you can choose to be the victim or the hero of your story. And I choose to be the hero. And by that, I mean, nobody owes me anything. And a lot of people bring a victim mentality to work. And then, the reason I didn't hit my target was because my book of business is rubbish, or my SDR wasn't good enough, or blah, 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 whatever. So I don't accept the victim mentality. I expect accountability, and that I live my life as if I have agency over what happens to it. It's like, it's not someone else's fault. I am in control and I can choose to make stuff happen, right? So I don't like people that I really screen at interviews for anyone who is blaming territories or blaming other people or blaming circumstances beyond their control. What is within our control is powerful, and I really drive that sense of accountability across my team, because it doesn't work otherwise. It's like, so be the hero, not the victim.
Love that. I watched a different podcast of yourself, and you talked about there was a difference between, giving someone tough love and almost getting them to realize what's in their control. And I thought that was really important. Have you noticed a difference in this role? Obviously moving, I guess, more work from home, more remote. Have you noticed a change in people's behaviours when it relates to that? What they can control, what they can't, and we're noticing that people are working longer, harder when working from home, switching off less. How has that been for you guys and your team?
Yeah, it's something I feel really passionately about, the fact that, when I'm at work and I'm focused, but it's really important to switch off. And at the end of the day, the leader sets the tone. And I would say, I'm going to mass stereotype for a second, but Americans, I think, generally have a problem switching off and saying, I'm on my holidays, or it's the weekend, or whatever. And it's like, and that's obviously a cultural thing there, but I have been very vocal within the leadership team here. I was at an offsite in Texas 3 weeks ago, and they're all talking about, we just want to make sure we're being, leading with empathy and making sure people are not burning out because of what you just said, of people working harder and longer. And, I said, look, leaders set the tone. Like, I take my holidays, and when I'm on holidays, I'm on holidays. I'm not working. If it's, we're not brain surgeons, right? So we're not saving lives here. It's not like, the firm Gong will go on to be a great success if I hit a bus tomorrow. The fact is, it will be fine. So, yeah. So I think just like the leader sets the tone. So I am vocal about when I take my holidays. I literally delete Slack and email from my phone. And I say, my out of office says, if it's urgent, call me. And guess what? Like, it's rarely urgent. And if it is, like, obviously I take the call. But this whole disconnect, I literally can't physically do my job if I don't switch off, because I also have a seizure disorder and I have chronic headache. And it's like, I learned, this is the lesson it took me the longest to learn, is the importance of rest and sleep and recovery. And leaders lead by example. Do not send emails to your team at the weekend. Respect them when they're on their holidays. Like, be treated as you want to be treated.
Yeah, and a great lesson. It's something because I don't think leaders are born as such, right? But you grow into roles, and I've probably moved through the roles over the last few years, and that's probably been the hardest thing. I think as you start to lead by example, you assume I need to work the hardest, the longest, the most, set the example, but really you're setting the wrong example. and you're saying that you can only be successful if you work extra or longer or harder. And I think working that bit smarter and almost sharing some of that responsibility with your team. I think a big lesson I've learned this year is every single role a client gives us is urgent, because they want us to take it seriously. And it's testing that level of urgency early on is what really separates it for us. When we give you that shortlist on the 23rd of December, when are you going to look at it? Well, I'll come back on the 5th of January. Okay, so it's not urgent then. We can give you it next year. And it's kind of a trying to probe for that. But at the same time, I definitely have found it hard to switch off. I shared a post on LinkedIn today with my son and I, going to a football game on Sunday. And I thought, while I was there, it was a kind of I know people have those aha moments in life, but I sat there with my son, bursting with pride. He's at this game, he's loving it. The ball was coming down the wing and he shouted, "Come on, I believe in you." And all the fans round about were laughing and, loving it. And I thought, I need to do this more often. My wife isn't happy with me thinking about buying a season ticket, right enough, but I just thought those little moments are truly important. And switching off and recovery, you come back refreshed and ready to go.
You do, and you're better in your job when you do that. And I'll share a quick story that I did this executive women in leadership course with some incredible, I was actually the smallest fry in town there. There was a lot of C-level women from major tech firms, and it was a brilliant thing to be part of. But in it, we spoke about the fact that we all actually believed, we did a quick poll, we all believed if we had worked 70% as hard in our career, we would still be where we are right now. So we give this extra 30%, and it's like far above, keep pushing, but actually it detracts, takes away from your life, it takes away from joy, it takes away from, making sure you're a fulfilled person and all of the other things that you should be doing to have fun. And we really believe that we would be where we are. And I think also in that, the people running the course, they sent us all a mug afterwards with a tagline on it, which said, "You have used up your quota of guilt for this lifetime." And that was really powerful because we all feel guilty. We're like, we're not working hard enough. We're not spending enough time with our friends, with our family, whatever it is. You always have a feeling of guilt. Like on a Sunday, my to-do list, I'm like watching Succession or something. My to-do list is going in my head. And I was like, I'm actually allowed to sit here and watch this program and laugh and not think about work. So yeah.
But, thankfully my wife can't hear this, but she is always saying, switch off, be present, put that phone away. And I think you're right. For me, it's always the fear of missing out on something or not reacting to something. And then you see your Microsoft report for the week and it says, you respond to emails in 14 minutes or something. You're thinking, right, okay, I need to chill out sometimes. Again, it's so tough though when you're back as that trader to think that way early in your career because you're so ambitious and you want to get going. But I think the key message here for me is more for the leadership to set the example.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing I'd love to touch on with you is, right now we are definitely seeing in the recruitment world, people are having to pay, middle of the range, high end of the range, over range, and counter offers are going back and forward quite a lot. People are having to offer more money to retain a lot of their top talent, to stop people poaching them, offer different things to keep people, offer titles people shouldn't quite get. My big fear going into 2022-23 is people will add pressure onto themselves because they maybe get jobs they might not have got, or managers might expect more of people because they've overpaid for them. I think what we're talking about right now is going to be a huge talking point in 12 months' time. What's your thoughts around that? Are you noticing any of that? I'm not asking what you pay people at Gong, of course, but just generally, what's your thoughts on that topic?
What are my thoughts on that topic? I think that I'm a big believer in paying for top talent. Like if you have ambitious goals and you want to be, one of the fastest growing whatever of all time, or you want to be you've got to pay for it and you've got to reward people. I will say it goes beyond just compensation though. There is, and that's the important thing is like, and I think especially with the younger generations, are they bought into the vision and mission of the company? Do they believe they're changing the world? Is it, what is the remote policy? What is the work from home policy? What is the holiday policy? So I think actually, and obviously you're the expert here, but I feel like we get much more questions about everything, our philosophy about how we work as well, rather than just at some point, and depending on obviously how senior you are, at some point the extra 10K was not going to make that much of a difference to your life, but actually the holiday policy will, and or sabbatical policy will, where something like that's important. So I think there comes a threshold where there is a trade-off there. And I do think the meaning and the value you take from your work. And for me, when I think about people and I advise people about jobs, I say to them, and something that I feel that I'm always thinking about is, what is the impact? Like in a role, when you think about the role, there's your boss, there's the location, but there's impact. Like, what impact are you going to have? And, while I joke about obviously that if I get hit by a bus, Gong will be fine, and it clearly will be, I'd like to think there'll be, for a minor impact, people would notice me missing. So I can have impact. So, and it's a great feeling to feel that what the work that you do every day matters, and it matters whether you show up to work or not. And the impact is felt more widely. So that's how I think about it. But there's no doubt that it is definitely a big topic of conversation.
I love that. I mean, I'm going to change my background for 1 second and just share with you, something that's really important to us here at SD, and it's kind of our approach to candidates. It's not just about Wendy's hiring for X role and hey, who wants it? For us, it's very much about an amazing candidate experience, a candidate journey, and there are going to be a lot of unsuccessful people through that process. Can they learn something about themselves? Not that they then all want to go and move from the role that they are in, but if we're not matching up your value proposition with their motives, you're not going to make that magic. I think for us, fortune is number 5 here, right? And they're not in order in any way, but it's just one part of it. And I think a lot of people can be eyes turned by a number or different things, but I think you're absolutely right. I've been telling people, think about these 6 things when you're thinking about your value proposition, but the impact someone can make is different role to role. The word impact I've used, I guess, time and time again this year. And, that is what you want to, as an individual, you want to know you're making an impact. I'm not just a number here. I am influential. I'm rubbing off on someone else. I'm changing someone's life. I'm whatever it may be. That takes me quite nicely onto, I guess, hiring and talent. Your experience of 32 interviews is incredible. We definitely have some clients that over interview want to be sure, have added some steps to the process while being remote. How do you assess, or what does top talent mean to you?
So top talent, first of all, the work ethic piece, right? So work ethic is something, I am where I am today because of my work ethic. And often, I will take somebody who will, I always compare it to horses. You can get, I'm a big horse person. So you have the most talented horse on the planet, but if they're not willing to put in the work and do what they have to do, well, then they're, if they throw the toys out of the pram when you ask them to do something a bit difficult. But there's less talented horses with great work ethic that will go further because they're coachable and they'll try. So work ethic, coachability. I look for people that I'm like, what are you doing for self-improvement? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you read? Is it are you pushing yourself to be better and learn? Because I know I certainly am. And I have a lot I still have to learn. And I do that through reading. And I do that through, listening to podcasts. And also I think the bit about accountability that I mentioned earlier, I want to see a history of success in someone's career. Have they been shown success time and time again, promotion within their certain roles? Have they proved that they could be successful? And I remember once hearing my CEO say, what is a myth that you'd like to bust that's overrated? And he goes, the whole thing about failing, he goes, I'd much rather hire successful people than people that keep failing. And I was like, it's so true.
Quite
right?
true, to be honest. Yeah, I might steal that actually.
Yeah, because everyone goes on about how great it is to fail and, you learn. And obviously there is an element of you have to push your boundaries. And with that, there are moments you will fail. However, showing a repeatable pattern of success is key. And I think as well, when we do references, we want to know, is this person, if I'm doing reference for sales rep, is this, when all the sales reps you've ever managed, is this person in the top, 20% of people, and see how they respond.
I think as well, when a hiring manager says, I would hire them back in a minute, I'm raging that you're stealing this person from me. I've just added 3-4 members to my team, and I loved getting the references in. I felt like I'd got one over on that company. It's not nice to think that way, but you also, without me even actually thinking that repeatable pattern success is exactly what I was looking for, a proven track record. There'll be some failures, there'll be a redundancy along the line, different things happen, but it's how they explain that, react to that. And I think it's the excuses part. I thought you mentioned earlier is so true. Obviously, as you build out the EMEA team at Gong, you've got great international experience. You're in an amazing city. You know, and from what we've spoke about, it's not been difficult to attract top talent to Gong. What is it about Gong and Gong's value prop that I guess looking at those success that sucked you in and continues to just attract top talent?
Yeah, so I would say, every company's got a mission and a vision. I would say our mission is particularly compelling. It's, at Gong, we're on a mission to unlock reality, to help companies and people fulfill their true potential. And that sounds, very noble, but it's also, when I live in Gong day after day, it's also true. So the word that gets used most often about the product is that it's a game-changing product. It's a game changer. So people don't know, and I didn't know this product existed when they first came to me. I'd heard some buzz about the company.
You never used it before you joined?
No, I'd never used it until I joined. And I'd heard buzz about the company, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, like this is, and I know it's dramatic, life-changing. As a sales leader, this feels like I didn't know this world existed. I've been living in a world where I didn't know a tool like this actually existed. And, for anyone listening who hasn't seen it, because obviously it's still a very new category, the way it works is we capture all customer interactions across email, across phone, and across web conference. And we integrate with the CRM, and we use our artificial intelligence to pull out insights into deals, people, and markets. So telling you, like, what are your top people doing differently to make them successful? Which deals in your pipeline are real? And so, like, literally, I think it's the fact that it's a revolutionary product, and it's something that it's the future. And I think we'll look back in however long it takes, 5 or 10 years, and go, wow, we don't know how we existed without it. I genuinely believe that.
I think they'll keep going back to that Super Bowl advert. It's always going to know that they've done that. That's the thing. That's when you've made it, when you've got a Super Bowl advert. But we've used the tool for 2 years. I think about 5 years ago when I joined SD, I was looking at what are the other sales reps doing. Let me repeat that. But you're having to ask them. You're having to sit and watch. And I now have got hours and hours and hours of content that I can just file away into different inboxes that my reps now get up to speed so much quicker. My reps are sitting right now on another call talking about, what they're all doing differently, what's working, ways that they can improve. That, to me, that's the self-learning part, right? So I guess we're doing okay when it comes to your ticking your boxes for hiring. I think the key part there was, I guess sport, horses, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I've seen many people, quite frankly, piss their career away because they've not just worked that little bit harder. And I think super true. Gong, anyway, an amazing tool. You guys have clearly got an amazing culture that comes from the top down. Let's move on to Gong as a whole. We went through the process of creating our own category over the last couple of years, and it's been game changing for us. There's no doubt you guys are on a completely different level, and now on that global level. Data, intelligence, forecasting, whether it be recruitment, no matter what. I think through COVID, a lot of things have been accelerated, and data is helping support and drive key decision makers for reps, but also leaders and businesses. Just how important can Gong be when it comes to, I guess, revenue forecasting or revenue intelligence over the next few years?
Yeah, I think the critical difference is, in a world prior to Gong, the way I ran my business is, if something went wrong, I'd go and look at the CRM and I'd say, okay, well, what's happening? But the CRM shows me outputs, right? It shows me lagging indicators. And it shows me, I'll see I'll see win rates, I'll see churn, I'll see whatever, but it's lagging indicators. The difference with Gong, and where Gong comes in, is it shows you the leading indicators. It shows you what's happening at the critical moment of execution. So there's this incredibly valuable exchange between your reps and customers, these interactions, and where, you understand what your rep is saying, you hear back exactly from the customer what they're saying. And instead of subjectivity, meaning, okay, we see outputs in the CRM, or we go and ask our reps, what are our customers saying about XYZ? And they get subjective answers. We actually capture it all. So it's reality. So when it thinks about data, so much of the way we've run our business before is based on subjective opinions. It's not based on actual facts. And so the whole point about Gong is we unlock reality to give you the truth, like a truth serum for what is actually happening. So when your reps are forecasting, they're like saying, oh yeah, we're going to close X, Y, Z. Well, guess what? 53% of deals in commit don't actually close. And the good news is a tool like Gong will show you this deal is in commit, but pricing's never been mentioned and it's meant to close next week. Or guess what? This deal's in commit, but all of a sudden over a call, your prospect has suddenly brought up a competitor in an evaluation. So it'll leverage these, pull out these insights early so that you're not in this black box. It basically unlocks the black box of what's happening. And it's based on facts. It's not opinions. It's not subjective. And that's what makes it so powerful.
I think it comes back again, okay, you almost need to hire people with the enthusiasm, the drive, and the willingness to want to know that data. And I think that is the future of it's a future of lots of roles, but in terms of, if we're talking sales here, for me, the people that want to know the data, want to work on the data, want to improve, Gong is a total game changer. There'll be people that will look at it and go, oh no, that's micromanaging me, but that to me is the person that will never be successful anyway. Lagging indicators versus leading indicators, so key for leaders, right? Because it's so easy to say, you should have done this, or what would you have done there? And maybe they go and they implement that over the next couple of months or whatnot. But to know you have just done this and you have got the ability now to do this on the next call based on the fact that you know that is key. I mean, I remember my first few months, I was probably a bit nervous of Gong. But what I really liked was, at the very least, I can go back and actually just listen to that before I do the next call. That better prepared me. And then I thought, let me take it a stage further. What questions did they ask?
Right. Because no rep has an infinite memory, right? At the end of the day, Gong is here to make everyone better. How in God's name, especially enterprise sales cycles, will you remember what was said in a call? 6,000 words in an average conversation between a rep and a customer, 30 of them make it into the CRM, if at all, right? So no rep has an infinite memory. So this makes reps better. And that's why when they get it, there's an initial hurdle like, oh, wait, this feels a bit scary. But the second that they get it, it's like, my God, I can't live without this tool. And it's the point now that people actually get written into their employment contracts. Of VPs of sales that have said, I will only join your firm if you buy Gong. Like, that's how crazy powerful it is.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's something I think I couldn't live without now, and I'm probably being a sales rep for Gong right now, but that's absolutely fine with me, right? I mean, as long as I get mine cheaper next year. I think the key part for me is the discovery process for me in sales is super key. And there's loads that comes before that in terms of who are you even going after, what geographies, what buyers, what personas. But the magic will always happen in those first couple of interactions, first interaction between any client and the sales rep. Being able to go back and say, I asked that question that opened things up, and I now have this data, to drive my next actions is so powerful. I mean, you're clearly data driven, clearly like the intelligence side of things. What do you see as the future of Gong? I know you've got some exciting announcements coming up early next year. I don't know if you can share them with us right now.
Yeah, we announced there's two major areas that we're moving into next year. The first, I think, will make sales reps will just love us even more because it's something called Gong Assist. And so when we think about being a sales rep, the problem is that there's so many mundane tasks, like how much time a rep's actually spending selling. They're spending time updating CRM. They're spending time, trying to figure out sending follow-up emails to customers. And something like, we know close rates are higher if we send a follow-up email after a call within the first 24 hours. What Gong Assist will do is it will actually create the version of that email for you to send to minimize the time you're spending wasting. It will say, you said you want to send a pricing sheet, you want to send a reference, this is what this template is what we suggest. And something else, think about it. You get a bounce back and it says the prospect's out of office on email. Gong will alert you when they come back. Gong will know this says that you will be back from email on the whatever it is, the 20th of December. And so Gong will say, your prospect is back in the office. Do you want to follow up? It's just makes life easier. It takes away the mundane tasks that people hate and helps them be more efficient. So moving into that is key. So that's the first big bucket. And the second one is essentially reality-based forecasting. So the problem with all forecasting tools that exist currently is they're still based on subjectivity. They're not based on reality of what's actually happening. And so, for example, with some of our competitors, if a customer sends an email, the likelihood of that deal closing goes up in their mind. So the score increases. However, with Gong, we understand what's said in the email. So we can say, oh, if they say the evaluation is being pushed to next quarter, we know that we already surfaced that risk, and we know that means the deal's less likely to close, clearly, not more likely. And so because it's based on a reality, that just completely separates how we run our business going forward. And that's what makes it so powerful.
I mean, going back to the first point in Gong Assist, I think in every interview I've ever done with sales, or even thinking about it myself, everyone will say, oh, the best salespeople are rubbish at admin, or they don't like admin. It's the part of the job that they don't enjoy. Yep. I actually see the future of sales, them enjoying inputting the data that matters because of the intelligence that they get back from it. And I think that's a shift that people just need to embrace, because I think we talk about here quality in, quality out, and we've spent quite a lot of time doing lots of admin, so our CRM and Gong and Outreach can tell us the things that we want to know. And it's been amazing for us, game-changing for us. Forecasting is probably one of the hardest things as a leader you go through, because if reps can't forecast their own stuff, and do it properly because they've not done the admin right, it makes your job sometimes a bit of a guessing in the dark. I mean, I'm sure that's made your life a lot easier since coming to Gong.
It has, and honestly, one of the best sort of nods to Gong I can give is I never used the tool before I joined. There's nobody sitting on my shoulder forcing me to use Gong, but I spend my life in Gong, especially with forecasting, because I never look anywhere else now, because it's like, I see, okay, these are the deals that are in commit, and I can see all of the red flags associated with them. And I say, okay, I can see the exact email from the customer. I can see what was captured on a call, if pricing wasn't mentioned, if we're not at power, all of and it's saves so much of my time, because forecasting is also so time consuming. And I've so much time saved just by looking at the alerts and the deals, so I understand what risk, if any, is associated with them.
Brilliant. I mean, I think the future's clearly bright for Gong. You just keep seeing the number of employees going up and up and up, and it's a super exciting journey. I think, not only have you guys changed the game in terms of category creation, marketing, branding, in terms of now exploding through Europe. I think you've conquered probably the US already. I think it's easy to say that. Where do you see the future of Gong in Europe going, and could you maybe talk through that type of growth?
Sure. So, well, I joined in June as the first employee on the ground in EMEA, and we're now exiting the year with 30 people, which is exciting.
Wow.
And next year, we've ambitions. We're likely to get up to 100. We're planning, we had been originally just focused on UK, Ireland. We're expanding to sell to, France, Germany, Benelux, Nordics. We've been accepting inbounds in all these countries. And actually, due to that, we're already based in 28 different countries, Gong inbounds. So we're about to start going outbound and move up market as well. So it is very exciting. We wanted to make sure we weren't trying to be everything to everybody on day one and build a foundation and get that. But I think there's so much pull from local markets, both from recruitment side and the customer side. Everyone, I get pings from people in France and Germany asking us to hire there and everything else. And for now, we're still focused on Dublin, but yeah, we definitely plan to expand our footprint next year.
Well, listen, Dublin's one of my favourite cities globally. Best pint of Guinness you will ever get, right? So that's definitely. Hopefully, next time I'm there, we can catch up. But again, thank you so much for being an awesome guest, Wendy. You clearly have had a very interesting career to date. You've not went the typical SDR, AE, sales leader route, right? Which has been extremely common from other leaders that I've spoken to. And it shows there's no one way to do things. I think the Dare Greatly is awesome. I think there's probably about 6 or 7 different things you've mentioned today that have really resonated with me, and I'm sure will resonate to our listeners as well. So thank you so much. Congratulations on an awesome 2021, and I look forward to seeing how things go next year.
Thank you, Nikki. And also thank you for being one of our early adopters in EMEA as well, and for being one of our raving fans. Really appreciate it. And very excited to continue the partnership next year. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Wendy.